Welcome in to the DNVR Rockies Podcast. I am your host, Patrick Lyons, and joining me today, we got a cavalcade of stars covering the League Championship Series from all across this wonderful continent, covering MLB. But today, right off the bat, we've got, for her first appearance, Renee Washington from PHLY Phillies. Renee, what's going on?
Hey, I'm happy to be here, and I'm glad that we can make this happen. Everything's going great. It's game one today, so it's a high in the city right now.
Yes, for anyone that doesn't know, our family here at All City has gotten a little bit bigger. We're in Philly and PHLY Phillies. I mean, everyone's paying attention to y'all, as well as PHNX Diamondbacks. You're getting off to the jump start, and immediately it's been the postseason, and it just feels like everyone right now is most excited about the Phillies in so many ways. And I think a lot of that just has to do with the vibes at Citizens Bank Park right now.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, Citizens Bank Park is always an X factor, and I've been down for many games. There's nothing like a postseason game at Citizens Bank Park. Regular season's one thing, but playoff time, everyone's standing the entire time, inning after inning after inning. The dugout's all into it. It's so that contagious energy feeds into the team, and it's just fun. It's contrary to what people think about Philly sports fans. It's a lot of fun. You're dancing and tailgating. You're having some great food. It's like a big family reunion. So playoff sports in Philly, especially right now around the Phillies, has been so much fun to be a part of, and it makes it tough for anybody coming in to play them.
Yeah, I want to say the record is like 26-11. It's actually the best winning percentage for any team in any location. The winning percentage is pretty good for the Diamondbacks. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But yeah, that actually with Citizens Bank Park, just the way that it's been like that since last year. I think, in fact, Phillies are now 10-2 at Citizens Bank Park since the start of the 2022 postseason. But it really feels like that's like a 10th or 11th player on the field, right? You got the 9 guys, including the DH, the 10th is the pitcher, and then the 11th, maybe the most important, have been the fans there, and it just makes the vibes all the more better. And who else is bringing the vibes other than the one and only Bryce Harper? I mean, he continues to put his stamp on this postseason and put his stamp on Philly sports history. He really seems to have kind of put himself in the limelight and in the pantheon of great Phillies athletes, especially in this postseason. How beloved has he been in such a short amount of time since signing with the Phillies?
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, today's his 31st birthday, so we're expecting big things for him. But you look across his 12 seasons, it feels like Bryce Harper has continued to just progress. And he's had a number of accolades, Rookie of the Year, MVP, All-Star. But I think the best is honestly yet to come. And a lot of what we've talked about in Philly is he has to get a ring. He's got to get a championship because he's one of the best. We definitely have declared one of the best free agent signings that we've had in all of Philly sports, but hands down one of the best athletes in all of Philly sports, beyond just the Phillies club in general, because of what he's been able to do in big moments. You look at the series against the Braves. I mean, whoever wants to fault the media or whatever excuse you want to have, at the end of the day, Bryce Harper came back and answered back with a pair of homers and the iconic stare down. So, Bryce Harper, he makes it fun. He brings the energy, and he's always someone you can count on in those big moments. And when you look at the numbers that he's been putting up, it's remarkable that Bryce Harper, I feel like, is really still just getting to playing his best baseball. I mean, overall, his OPS of 1.697 OPS in the 7 postseason games against Atlanta alone completely has been dominant against them. But then also you look at the home runs that he's been hitting, the timing of the plays. Bryce Harper is literally putting Philly on his back in a lot of opportunities that just allows us to also feed off of what Bryce Harper can do at the plate.
And I think you guys have a shirt that you could put on your back that says "Attaboy Harper" that you can get over at allphly.com, of course. Check that out. You talk about guys, being clutch right here in the postseason and doing big things. Zack Wheeler has to be another one of those guys. And you talk about great free agent signings. Man, Zack Wheeler has been he's been better than advertised. And this is his time of year to shine. It'll be Zack Wheeler, Zac Gallen, Battle of the Zacks. I mean, what do you expect to see out of Wheeler tonight? 7 innings, perhaps?
It's more about what Zac is doing at the mound. It's a shame that when you look at the production that we saw from Zac in game 2, that streak of no hits, no runs, doesn't get tacked on because of how the last 2 innings went. But for Zack Wheeler coming in with a 2.08 ERA against, in the postseason specifically, and just been playing so well and has been steady. And I know there was a poll that was put out for pitcher power rankings by Major League Baseball, and they put him as number 1. And without a doubt, he's pitching as the best across the league right now. And it just is a great way to start any series off with Zack Wheeler on the mound. And I think after last game of just having, last game he started, I should say, of having that historic performance of being just one of 10 Phillies pitchers to ever, one of, I think it was 5 or 6 pitchers to have 10 strikeouts in a game. And you're talking about the historic moment. And then all of a sudden it gets completely, changed because we're now talking about the loss. So I think Zack Wheeler is today coming out to prove and show why he continues to be the best in baseball. And regardless what that result was of game 2, today hoping to get the Phillies that win.
Yeah, we got Jesse Friedman coming on here in just a little bit to talk Diamondbacks, Kevin Henry to talk all about the American League Championship Series. So I want to talk to you more, but we might have to end it here. I got to get that prediction first. What is going to happen? There you go. More Phillies shirts, rocking it. I'm sure you've got the Phillies winning it. How many games, though, for the NLCS?
If this goes anything less than 6, I think we're all going to be very surprised. I can anticipate this series being, I don't know if it's going the distance. I don't know all of that, but my prediction is a 6-game series. I do, of course, have the Phillies winning. I've predicted that they're going to win today, win tomorrow. I think they're going to drop on the road. It's a tough 3-game stretch of that Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But I still feel, I don't know which of those games might be a loss, but I think they're gonna close it out in 6 at the very least. Honestly, the Diamondbacks are a talented team. I know you and Jesse will get into it, and we're very aware of the fact that they're coming into this playing with no pressure. Having gone to the World Series last year, there's a little bit more on the Phillies as not just your typical wild card team coming in, that they dismantled the best team in baseball offensively in the Braves and completely have been dominant in their first 2 series. And you're expecting that to roll into this series as well. But we know that the Diamondbacks will not be a team that you're just going to roll over. We are expecting to finally hand the Diamondbacks their first postseason loss because the streak needs to end. But I think they're going to win in 6 is my prediction, including a victory tonight.
Man, you're going to have it all covered over on Twitter at PHLY_Phillies. You're also on Twitter at Renee P. Wash. Renee, thanks so much. What do you think? Are you going to come back? We want you back, but I mean, are we up to your level?
Yeah, listen, we're going to have plenty of games left, knock on wood. So plenty of opportunities to talk about the Phillies rolling through the NLCS and into the World Series. So we'll make this happen again for sure. And vice versa, of course.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah, if you ever want to talk about Rockies in Philadelphia, I'm your guy. So is Susie. Susie's your gal, for sure.
Yes.
Renee, thank you so much. Have fun in the series.
Thank you.
Man, if you want to have fun at any party or any event, make sure you're getting some Breckenridge Distillery, official bourbon of the Denver Broncos, widely known for their blended bourbon whiskey, a high rye mash, American-style whiskey right now. Hashtag Broncos Bourbon, 2 tickets to the Breckenridge Bourbon Whiskey Suite for the Broncos-Chargers game at the end of the year. Take a photo of yourself with your favorite Broncos photo that you've got. Share it on Instagram, Facebook. Use hashtag Broncos Bourbon. You got a good chance to win that bad boy. They're at all of our DNVR watch parties as well as Broncos tailgates. You can also check out their Ricky Seltzers. They're amazing. They're available in all 50 states. Breckenridge Distillery, après, anywhere. And Bet365, look, they don't do ordinary, not at all. They believe every sport should be epic. So see for yourself when you sign up today, because you'll get $365 in bonus bets when you bet just $1. We got DNVR custom bets on top of that. It's super easy. All you got to do is download the app, deposit $10, and claim your $365 in bonus bets as soon as you place a bet for $1. Download the Bet365 app and use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Jesse Friedman calling from, I believe you're in a condo above a Wawa somewhere in Philadelphia. Is that correct?
That is accurate.
How was workout day yesterday? So for anyone that doesn't know, I mean, I've been down here in Phoenix for a little bit, helping out the Diamondbacks coverage, fire off those predictions for the NLCS, ALCS. If you're with us in the chat live on the DNVR Sports channel on YouTube. I haven't had a good time doing that. You're out in Philly, so you're probably right down the street from Renee. What was workout day like yesterday, and how are the vibes in and around the city? I'm sure everyone's buzzing about the Phillies, similarly to how they're buzzing about the Diamondbacks here in town in Phoenix.
It's cold, Patrick. That's the first thing I'm going to say. All right. This Arizonan, I know I lived in Seattle not that long ago. But yeah, my phone was trying to tell me that it was like 54 degrees or something at the end of the workout day yesterday when all of us reporters left. But I don't believe it for a second. It definitely felt like it was, I don't know, like mid 40s or something. But yeah, I mean, that just is kind of part of the territory of postseason baseball, right? It's almost supposed to be cold outside. It's kind of, one of the hallmarks of playoff baseball is everyone wearing their big jackets and whatnot in the stands. But yeah, I mean, sort of a typical workout day, kind of what we've gotten used to seeing here over the last couple weeks in some of these other series. Everyone's on the field taking BP and taking ground balls and doing their thing. We got to talk with a few members of the Diamondbacks team, as well as manager Torey Lovullo, as well as general manager Mike Hazen. So there were a lot of interesting moments, a lot of interesting things that were said. Zac Gallen wore a Michael Jordan Tar Heels jersey into the press interview room, which was kind of a fun moment. He was asked about Michael Jordan and the impact that he's had on his career and how he looks out on things moving forward. So yeah, just a lot of fun conversations and of course a lot of anticipation heading into game one tonight.
Yeah, I know Gallen wears 23. I started putting those things together when doing your homework on a guy and you say, oh yeah, he was a Tar Heel, so it makes sense that he kind of idolizes Michael Jordan, another pretty decent baseball player. Certainly not up to the caliber of Zac Gallen. I know there was a couple roster moves. Jace Peterson came off, and who was it? Slade Ciccone was also added to the roster. He's someone that the Diamondbacks are going to need to get a couple more innings from the bullpen because they really only have three starters, and even that third one is Brandon Pfaadt. Any thoughts on what might happen in Game 4? Is it just going to be kind of a true bullpen day once we get there on Friday?
Yeah, it's still unclear. Torey Lovullo hasn't really directly answered any questions about that, and neither is Rob Thompson on the Phillies side. Although he said they have two great options, those being Taijuan Walker and Christopher Sanchez. We certainly expect to see one, if not both of those guys playing a big role for the Phillies in that Game 4. But on the Diamondbacks side, it's still hard to say. As you mentioned, Slade Ciccone is on the roster, which is an interesting development. He hasn't, pitched an inning in the playoffs, hasn't been on any of the Diamondbacks postseason rosters that they've churned out so far. But you have to believe he's probably going to play a role in some respect in that Game 4. He got, just a handful of outings with the Diamondbacks during the regular season coming up from AAA. And, I thought he looked good in moments. He pitched in some big games down the stretch and had some moments of success. But that Game 4 is going to be tough for the Diamondbacks. No matter how they slice it, if you're not willing to pitch Zac Gallen or Merrill Kelly on short rest, I guess Zac Gallen in that Game 4, the Diamondbacks just aren't going to have, an ideal pitching situation. That's just kind of the reality of things for them. And I think it maybe puts a little bit of added pressure on these first two games in Philly. When you have Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly on the mound, you have to make the most of it. And, it's going to be obviously pretty hard to do that playing at Citizens Bank Park with all these fans.
And Game 3 seems a little lopsided. I mean, Ranger Suarez has been outstanding in the postseason. Brandon Pfaadt, really good against the Dodgers, obviously, last week. Then Game 4, you got former Diamondback, and it looks like Taijuan Walker might get the start. So really, that is anybody's game, but you got to take one of these first two, and obviously that's not breaking anything new there. No love lost between these two teams. I think one of the last times they went toe-to-toe, Torey Lovullo and JT Realmuto, exchanged a couple of words there. I don't know if there's going to be any hard feelings going into the series, but if I know Torey and if I know JT, they're not going to forget that all too soon.
It'll be interesting. I remember after the incident happened. I mean, this was back in June, I believe. It's been a few months. I think they kind of downplayed it a little bit. And even in the moment, Torre talked about, and I guess I should give the context here. Corbin Carroll was hit by a pitch twice in both of his first plate appearances in a game against the Phillies at Chase Field back in June. I believe Matt Strahm was on the mound. This is back when Matt Strahm was starting games or sort of opening games for the Phillies.
Yeah.
Of course, Diamondbacks fans weren't happy. And of course, Torey Lovullo wasn't happy. He talked after the game about feeling the need to protect his player. And he came out there and was not happy with Matt Strahm or JT Realmuto. Realmuto tried to convince him that, we're just pitching inside. I know we hit him the first time, but that's not going to change our game plan. Why would we want to put Corbin Carroll, one of the best base runners in baseball, on base intentionally early in a game? This wouldn't make any sense for us to do anyway. Torey Lovullo said he told JT Realmuto on the field, I would do the same thing if this were you. Like if you were on my team and you were at the plate and you'd been hit twice early in the game, I would have the exact same reaction for you. So I think those two kind of came to an understanding about the situation. I don't think there's really any level of disrespect. So I think of that as sort of a non-issue going into this series.
I know the theme for the Diamondbacks has been somebody new each game stepping up and being that player of the game, being the king snake, as a good friend of mine likes to call the best player of the game over there in the PHNX Diamondbacks channel. But have you pinpointed anybody that the series maybe is a make or break if this guy can maybe have a big series or maybe if they have a really bad series, it's all going to fall apart from the Diamondbacks?
I don't think there's any one guy, there's too many different ways to win a playoff series, and the Diamondbacks have had a variety of contributors in their first two series. But I think there are a couple of things we can say for sure. If Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly do not pitch well in the series, the Diamondbacks are not going to win this series, right? You at least need to get, maybe in four starts, there's one clunker in there or something. But you need these two guys to be at the top of their game in order for the Diamondbacks to really have a shot here. I think Gallen and Kelly are a big reason why some people really feel like the Diamondbacks have a chance in this series, even though, the Phillies have so much firepower on offense compared to what the Diamondbacks have. But Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly, they're just as good, or at least in the regular season, they were just as good, if not better, than, Zack Wheeler and Aaron Nola. And if they're able to continue to be those guys going into this series, the Diamondbacks, they should at least have a chance.
Got a prediction for how this is going to end up playing out?
Oh gosh, of course you had to ask me this.
Don't worry, no one from Phoenix is watching right now. Don't worry.
I think that on paper the Phillies are the better team, right? The Phillies won 90 games, the D-backs won 84. I wrote a breakdown over at gophnx.com of, comparing the Phillies and D-backs on offense, starting pitching, relief pitching. Look, the Phillies have the advantage, not necessarily a huge advantage, but an advantage in just about every area of the game. I think defense is the one thing that the Diamondbacks are clearly better at than this Phillies team. But even then, without Kyle Schwarber playing left field anymore, the Phillies defense, I don't think is quite as bad as some of the defensive metrics would say. So the Phillies are the better team on paper, as we've seen in the playoffs. That doesn't mean that the Diamondbacks can't win a series, because the Brewers were the better team on paper in the wild card round, right? The Dodgers were the better team on paper in the NLDS. The Diamondbacks ran through both of those teams. So anything can happen, but I think I have to stick by the book here and pick the Phillies to win this one. And I guess we'll say 6 games.
Elizabeth saying Diamondbacks are going to win, and yes, no one from Phoenix is watching, so don't worry about that. Well, Jesse, stay warm, bundle up. I imagine you may have to go get some kind of goose down jacket to keep warm out there in the press box.
I need a beanie. That's what I always forget.
Go to Wawa. Get a Wawa beanie. That'll really ingratiate yourself with the local media and fans and whatnot. Jesse, thanks so much.
Wawa's a gas station, right? You telling me they sell beanies? Is that how this works?
They sell a little bit of everything. Yes, they have merch. I don't know if they sell them at the convenience store section. You can get them online. I don't know. I should probably own more Wawa clothing than I currently do, because I love me some Wawa. You got to check it out. Check it out for yourself. It's no Circle K. I'll say that. It's no Circle K.
Few things are, Patrick. Few things are.
Yeah, check out his work at Jesse N. Friedman on Twitter, and go over to gophnx.com. Check out that preview. See how Jesse broke it down and what's going to happen with this Phillies Diamondbacks matchup. Jesse, have a good time tonight. Stay warm.
All right, will do. Thanks.
People in Denver are definitely going to be staying warm because they're going to tap in on that Kind Love, an official partner of DNVR. Support another one of those great local brands. Get a consistent, great experience when you're high on Kind Love, one of the first dispensaries in Colorado, established in 2010, known for cultivating some of the highest quality cannabis in the States. They got that turbo core, right? That turbo joint, the Kind Love flower that's sold in more than 100 stores around the state. You can actually check out the one in Cherry Creek or North Denver. Mention DNVR and receive a DNVR exclusive discount of 25% off all Kind Love flower, pre-rolls, and their turbo joint line. Seriously, just mention DNVR. It's amazing. Go to website kindlove.com for their extensive menu and online ordering. And that code DNVR over at kindlove.com. It now works for deliveries as well. FOCO, leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise. You might even be able to see some of those things behind me here at the PHNX Diamondback Studios. They've got those awesome overalls that you can get a CU Buffs one if you want. All of our set decorations are thanks to FOCO. They got amazing stuff. Peanuts bobbleheads. If you're into the whole Charlie Brown and Snoopy thing, that's cool. They got Hawaiian button-up shirts for the Rockies. It's really great. FOCO's got your back for all Colorado sports. So make sure that you help them out. Support them because that supports us. Use the link in the description. For all non-presale items, use promo code DNVR for 10% off. All right, I'm talking Colorado. Who better than my best man, my best guy in the Colorado Rockies press box at Coors Field. I haven't seen you since we were in Chicago together covering the Cubs.
Seriously. I mean, we had to go to Chicago to see each other. It's not right on so many levels, brother.
It's not. It's not. I want to talk plenty about the League Championship Series, but obviously, to be true to what this show is about, there's some news for the Colorado Rockies. I'm sure you saw there at DNVR_Rockies on Twitter. 31st anniversary of the groundbreaking of Coors Field. Construction started on this date in 1992. Just a $300 million. That's it to build the stadium on the corner of 20th and Blake, and seems like it was actually quite a bargain, don't you think?
I think it was. And you consider how that changed Lodo. It changed downtown Denver. I mean, everything that's gone on and what Coors Field has become, and Rockies fans will roll their eyes about it being a destination ballpark because of all that Dodger blue and Giants orange that always comes in. But absolutely, a shot in the arm that Coors Field has been through the years for downtown Denver. Absolutely. Kudos to that investment in a big way.
And I think it's changed the game, too, in sports in general, because Camden Yard was built, and then everyone said, oh, yeah, we want one of these like old-fashioned ballparks. So Coors Field gets in on that action with HOK and all their wonderful designs. So they're kind of the second one in that line. But it's where they put the field, saying, hey, let's kind of put it in an area that might be a little bit dilapidated, and let's build it up. The real estate in the areas is on the lighter side. And so from there you go, okay, we want the nice stadium like Camden and Coors, and we want the location like Coors. And after that, pretty much every ballpark, every team gets a new stadium in the late 90s and throughout the 2000s.
Yeah, and then you look at, I got to be honest with you, there was Turner Field and there was the ballpark in Arlington. They were both really great ballparks and built along the lines of Coors and Camden and everything else, and they've already been replaced. So I think it's a real shot in the arm to Denver that, the Rockies have kept it up, that, again, it is a place that people want to come to. What is built around it, it's somewhere that, downtown Denver in that area on game day, man, it's vibrant, it's thriving. And you and I both know whenever we leave at midnight, there's still plenty of bars bumping, no matter what day it is.
For sure. Arizona Fall League still going strong. So is Sterling Thompson, still raking .484 batting average so far through the first 2 weeks, third in the AFL, 1352 OPS, fourth in the AFL, 4 doubles, 2 triples, 7 RBI, and more walks, 10. That's second in all of the Arizona Fall League. Then strikeouts. So he's putting the ball in play. He's not swinging and missing. He's looking like a guy that, it could be kind of a long shot, but it's still worth discussing. He might even be on the opening day roster.
It's a possibility. Absolutely. We saw that the Rockies have already made some roster moves. We know that influx of youth is what they want, is what they're kind of counting on. And you look at, I'm just going to say it. I know we're not talking about it yet, but Evan Carter and the difference that he's made for the Rangers, a young guy really stepping up. The Rockies, I know, have visions of that someday being a Veen or a Romo or a Sterling Thompson even. It's very possible.
Very possible. Benny Montgomery had himself a really good week. Still waiting for his first extra base hit. He's got 5 stolen bases in 6 attempts. Case Williams looking really good in his 2 starts. 6 scoreless innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Major improvement for what he was able to do this year in Hartford. I think that was a bit of a disappointment. A guy who did get a major league invite, had an ERA just north of 7 in kind of more of a pitcher's league there in the AA Eastern League, but did throw over 100 innings, was only one of 7 Rockies prospects to do that, and really only one of 5 that's like a true prospect, under the age of 26. So I think he could have that opportunity to start at some point with the Rockies, maybe late in the year. He's December of 2024 is when he needs to be added to the 40-man roster, or else he'll be exposed on the 40-man. And so we've seen Rockies do that, with a guy like Ryan Feltner in 2021. Hey, let's put you on the 40-man a little bit early. Let's have you get some opportunities at the big league level, see what you can do, and kind of help, boost that stock of yours, boost some of that, give you some motivation a little bit. And so I think there's a chance that we could see Case at Coors, the hometown boy, at some point next year.
I think it's a very real possibility. And while we talk about Sterling and we're keeping our eyes on the hitters and everything else, I mean, that's the one guy I'm really watching in Arizona Fall League, because I think you're right. We know what's going on with the Rockies pitching situation. And so every little positive, like what he's doing right now in Arizona, that just multiplies, I think, heading into the offseason, and gives the Rockies some additional options, especially seeing what he can do at spring training, because he will very likely be there.
Yeah. Alec Barger, the reliever, acquired from Atlanta in that Brad Hand swap. 4 innings pitched, only gave up 1 run. 5 strikeouts, no walks. Again, he's missing bats. He's staying in the strike zone. Was erratic in 2023 throughout the season with Atlanta and Colorado. So, maybe there's some changes. Maybe there's some tweaks. Again, that's why the Arizona Fall League is such a finishing school. And we know Rockies are going to need those arms. I'm working on an article now about the Rockies trading from some of their depth. And you say, do they have bullpen depth? Maybe not, but they got a lot of young guys that have a lot of value that aren't even arbitration eligible yet. And if you have someone like an Alec Barger and several others, Gavin Holloway, I think, is ready to step up and have a bigger year next year, be counted on, for 5 of the 6 months of the season, then maybe you can trade one of those younger relief arms.
Yeah. Think back to last spring, whenever they did sign Pierce Johnson, Brad Hand, Brent Suter, all these guys who were 1-year deals. And, you thought they could be trade chips eventually. Should the season go south, these are guys who might be wanted. And we saw what Pierce did in Atlanta. I know you wrote about that. I'm telling you, it was fantastic to see him and what he did. But it's absolutely something that I think the way that the Rockies did. Oh, sorry, live there. Sorry about that. But I think what the Rockies did at the trade deadline by flipping and getting some of these younger arms into the system, I think that was a real good move by Bill Schmidt that maybe hasn't exactly gotten all the love that it should.
Yeah, no, you need the depth. And one of the reasons you're forced to do it is because you didn't make those trades in 2021 and 2022, which I think puts them behind schedule a little bit. I think not enough maybe was made of comments that Bill Schmidt made during the winter meetings of we're about a year or so behind the Diamondbacks. And obviously the Diamondbacks run this postseason kind of changes that narrative a little bit for an 84-win team. But even still, you go are you a year or so behind? And it might be a little bit more than that. It might be more like 2026. So it might be 2 years behind them. And I think, again, a lot of that had to do with the inactivity at the trade deadline the last 2 years before you got to this one. And they did what they were supposed to do.
Absolutely. And I think everybody's watching the Diamondbacks right now, and they're saying, are the Rockies on that same trajectory, what you just said? And I've seen our friend Patrick Saunders talk about that. I've seen lots of our friends in the press box who brought this up is, can the Rockies duplicate what the Diamondbacks did? And obviously, let's be honest, it starts with Zac Gallen and Merrill Kelly. It starts with those 2 guys at the top and what they've done throughout the season. And I think the Rockies have to find that top 2 pitcher and then see what they can fill in from there, and then have some of that young talent. That's the only way that this Diamondbacks plan, shall we say, is really going to work at Coors.
Yeah, the narrative has totally changed because the Diamondbacks, they'd won 16 fewer games than the Dodgers during the regular season. Believe it or not, that is the 6th largest regular season wins upset in a postseason series. And if you actually look at the top 6, the second biggest differential was last year. The Padres lost, or rather they won 22 less games than the Dodgers. You also had in 2021, Atlanta won 18 less games than the Dodgers. And then again this year, Arizona winning 16 less games than the Dodgers. So the 6th biggest upsets, when you look at regular season to the postseason, 3 of them are owned by the Dodgers in the last 3 years. What are they going to do? It seems like Ohtani is a foregone conclusion, and you don't even know if Clayton Kershaw is going to come back. And does that matter? Because he's not getting it done in the postseason like you'd think.
Well, and Ohtani is not going to be full on Ohtani. Don't forget,
No.
He's only going to be a hitter next year. So absolutely, in my humble opinion, it wasn't the hitting that did in the Dodgers this year. It was that Clayton got roughed up heading into the postseason, and then what did you have after that? Yeah, Bobby Miller and a whole cast of characters. So I think that the Dodgers, yes, they'll be in the Ohtani sweepstakes, but it's really what are they going to do on the mound? Because Lance Lynn isn't an answer. A lot of the guys that they hoped were going to be answers of the postseason obviously weren't. And once again, Dave Roberts is trying to figure out how he's going to prepare next year if he wins the NL West and gets another bye.
Do you think he keeps his job? There's been some rumblings that he might be out. I think so, but at the same time, maybe 2 more years of that, you go, we just got to kind of change the culture a little bit. So something is not right. It's not happening. But regular season manager, he was my pick of manager of the year.
Well, and think back to the offseason. Think back to Miguel Rojas being their shortstop, right? And everybody's like, okay, you're not going to replace Trey Turner, really. All the heat that the Dodgers took, but everybody said, whoa. They're doing that because they're playing the Ohtani game. And so this season, I remember them saying it was going to be a down season. Remember that back in March? Well, Dave Roberts navigates through all that, gets them to the top of the NL West, the bye, all that stuff. I don't see any way that you could say that Roberts didn't do his job this year. I know a lot of Dodger fans that disagree with me, but absolutely getting him in the position with the roster that it had, and even, let's be perfectly frank, some of the trade deadline pieces, Ahmed Rosario, there were some that were kind of, Lance Lynn was really their big one that helped them at some point. But after that, and I will say as well, Kike Hernandez coming back from the Red Sox was a huge thing for them.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, talking about people keeping their jobs. Kim Ng, that was the big news from this morning, out as GM of the Miami Marlins, not because she wasn't wanted back. No, it was a mutual option, and parted ways. Marlins wanted her back, exercised that option. She did not. Ultimately, it does sound like the Marlins wanted to add a president of baseball operations, so that would have made Kim Ng a number 2, and she just took the team to the postseason. For the first time since 2000. That was obviously the 60-game pandemic shortened season, so legitimately going to the postseason, and then all of a sudden. Yeah, we almost want to demote you in a roundabout way. So she's now a free agent, and some people have linked her with the Boston Red Sox, with her relationship with Red Sox manager Alex Cora from their days with the Los Angeles Dodgers. So another interesting free agent that's out there that a lot of teams are probably interested in, similar to Ohtani.
And let's say good for her. I mean, good for her for not accepting the number 2 position after what she did this year in Miami. And I will say, just a quick plug, we've got a great article right now on callthepen.com where our guy in Miami goes through all the times that the Marlins have built up this momentum in South Florida, and inevitably they tear it down either in the offseason or the next season. I mean, all these different steps. And you could say that, the Marlins really has a good thing going there. And now all of a sudden, that's a huge hole that she'll leave behind. So how will they respond next year? You would think Skip Schumacher is a shoe-in to stay there, even though that was kind of her guy. But I still think Skip will be there next year, and then it's a matter of what will the Marlins do as far as payroll goes.
Yeah, I don't know if greedy is the word, but you had a person in place as the GM doing a wonderful job, and then you're like, I want to add somebody else. Well, guess what? Now Kim's gone, and now you got to fill 2 spots. You still need that president of baseball operations, and now your GM spot is wide open. Giants got a managerial spot that's wide open. Kai Correa, one of the bench coaches, was interviewed, and Alyssa Nakin, believed to be, reported by Andrew Bagley, believed to be the first woman to be an official candidate for an MLB managerial position. That's awesome.
That is fantastic. And I mean, good for her, good for the Giants. I mean, let's give them a big thumbs up for actually being open to that idea. And again, let's make very clear, this wasn't just because, we need to interview a woman to satisfy a quota or whatever. This is something that she's earned that, and everything that she's done to really help the Giants become the team that they are, especially that year where they took that big leap out of nowhere, and actually knocked off the Dodgers in the West. Good for her, good for them. And, will she get it? It remains to be seen, but I'm glad at least that they went through that process and acknowledged her as a deserving candidate.
Yeah, that entire Giants coaching staff, that's going to be the staff, when you look at 2021, getting 107 wins out of that roster that they have been trying to run back, and obviously it doesn't work because they kind of caught lightning in a bottle, but they did it for 162 games. So it's hard to catch lightning in a bottle for a marathon like that. But Kai Correa, fantastic. Alyssa Nakin, also fantastic. There's a lot of really good coaches there. There's a lot of really good deals you can get when you're a diehard. Get yourself signed up over at the DNVR.com. DNVRlocker.com is where you're going to go to get a free shirt each and every year when you sign up and you become official diehard. Access to the diehards only Discord, 15% off food and drink there at the corner of Colfax and York. We got our next tailgate coming up this Sunday. Broncos, Snarfs, all you can eat. Breckenridge Distillery, all you can drink. New can cocktails from Ricky's Spirits. We got Nuggets takeovers and dates set up November 4th against Chicago. Battle of DNVR versus CHGO. December 16th versus Oklahoma City. January 14th versus the Pacers. March 9th versus the Jazz, division rival night. And there's also a couple of the Avs takeovers locked and loaded. December 9th versus Philadelphia. So again, DNVR versus PHLY. January 26th against LA on Pride Night. And then March 8th, Minnesota Military Appreciation Night. So you get 20% off that when you are a diehard. Get yourself signed up. Join in, tag in, tailgates, watch parties, takeovers, you name it. Kevin, you're covering the league championship series there in the American League, and we've got an interesting one so far. Texas up, they win 2-0 on Monday night, and the Rangers give it to Justin Verlander.
And how about Jordan Montgomery and the impact that he is making on whoever he's going to be with next year? He is earning some coin right now with the way that he's been pitching in the postseason. So, maybe a little bit of a surprise to see the Rangers come out against Justin Verlander, but you also remember last year, Seattle took Justin Verlander deep a couple of times and had him on the ropes where the Astros came back with Yordan Alvarez. So, postseason Justin, maybe not as strong as we give him credit for. But I am I'm very curious to see how the Astros bounce back tonight for sure.
Verlander making his 14th Game 1 start, 36th career postseason start, trails only Andy Pettitte, who has 44. So he's got a way to go until he possibly ties or breaks the Yankee and Astros record there. Andy Pettitte, of course. You also mentioned something there, of course, about Jordan Montgomery. Jordan Ka-ching Montgomery. I think going into this postseason, he was probably maybe 5-year, $100 million candidate, somewhere in that ballpark. I thought he was worthy of the great pitching he has done with the Yankees last year with the Cardinals and again here with the Rangers. But it feels like every postseason start, he goes out and shoves and delivers. That's like an extra $10 million. His price goes up. Again, we just got done talking about Clayton Kershaw and not getting it done. And you got regular season players, you got postseason players, and sometimes you have both. And there are teams out there that are willing to pay for both. And Jordan Montgomery is a both kind of guy.
And one thing that I have seen, because I was with the Rangers whenever they were beating up on the Rays in the wild card, is you see the confidence that team has when Jordan Montgomery is on the mound. I mean, there's just that little, that's our guy thing. And so I think that not only is he earning it for what he's doing on the mound, but just that overall vibe that he's bringing to the team too.
Yeah, Nathan Eovaldi in there. We don't know what's going to happen with Scherzer. John Gray, former Rockies.
How about John Gray?
Rockies pitching legend John Gray. Yeah, he was put on the 15-day IL for a lower right forearm. I had to actually look that up. I'm like, where is lower? I'm like, is that the bottom of the forearm? It's closer to the wrist is basically what it means. But yeah, went on the 15-day IL right at the end of the season, so he wasn't really eligible to come off that until now. So that'll be interesting to see what he's able to do. So Rangers get that momentum, and who's been more momentous this postseason than 21-year-old Evan Carter making some really great plays defensively last night. In fact, making kind of the big play. Now, the Rangers were already up 2-0 at that point, but makes that play in left field. First time playing at Minute Maid Park, too. Keep that in mind. Makes the play, and you double off Jose Altuve. Just kind of one of the worst base running mistakes. It's not egregious where you look at it and go, what is he doing? Because you have to go back and watch the replay to know that he didn't touch up again at second base. Right. But frankly, one of the worst postseason base running performances I think we've seen in quite some time.
And if you watched whenever that play was first going on, Marcus Semien was all over that, like immediately. And so I thought that was really heads up on his part to point that out. But yeah, Minute Maid Park and all those little nooks and crannies and everything else. I mean, Evan Carter looked like he'd played there 1,000 games. So, and I go back to, again, Tampa Bay. He makes that diving catch out in left field. I mean, the guy's done everything for the Rangers this postseason. Been really cool to see.
and scores that first run on what's ultimately just a hard hit ball to first base. Jose Abreu can't hold on to it. As it trickles away, he takes a double on a play that above average defensive first baseman might make. It's an out, and he's standing on second base with what's credited as a double. Base hit right after that. Boom. They go up with a 1-0 lead. The Rangers do. And then they get a solo home run from Leody Taveras, cousin of Willie Taveras, Rockies legend.
There it is.
We're celebrating on 2007, because right around now is the time. I think it was maybe Saturday was the big 16th anniversary of winning Game 4 and sweeping the Diamondbacks there. So Willie Taveras, of course, deserves to get a shout out. Rangers, they got the home field advantage now, obviously winning Game 1 and having 3 more still at home for Games 3, 4, and 5 back in Arlington.
Yeah, tonight I think it's a really pivotal game. You hate to say that for the Astros, but I also look back to how many times we counted out the Astros already this season. Jose Abreu's not working out, and all these different things. And I will say, I think they're the defending world champs for a reason, and I absolutely think they come back tonight, and then that's going to make Game 3 a really pivotal one in Texas on Wednesday night.
And Astros lost Game 1 of the World Series last year, and didn't have any issue with that. I love the obviously the major storyline with Bruce Bochy and Dusty Baker facing one another. Here's a fun fact too that I love fun facts. I love names too. Also, yes,
I've heard this. I have.
Yes, I wrote down his real name is Evan Jason Carter, but I think we need to call him Evan freaking Carter at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
But Bochy and Dusty Baker, they faced each other 204 times in the regular season. Number 1 for managers facing off is Dusty Baker and Tony La Russa at 215. But number 2, Bruce Bochy and Bud Black, 210 times. That's it. So again, we're always tying it back to the Colorado Rockies. Legally speaking, I got to talk about the Rockies every 5 minutes at least.
Well, and you and I both know that Bochy and Baker are 2 guys that Buddy cannot talk highly enough about. I mean, he loves both those guys, respects both those guys. And hey, for the Bochy effect and what it's done in Texas this year, yes, Jordan Montgomery, Max Scherzer coming over at the trade deadline, Evan Carter being a superstar, all that stuff. You don't get there without Bruce Bochy being that steady hand throughout the postseason, especially that last week when they literally flubbed up the AL West title. So good for them for flushing it, and good for him for keeping them on that straight and narrow path.
It really seemed like Bochy pushed all the right buttons and helped win in the division series against a better Orioles team on paper. But again, Brandon Hyde, first postseason as the manager there, obviously suffers from that inexperience. Perhaps this is only the second postseason matchup of 2 managers who had 2,000 wins going into the series. Tony La Russa for the Cardinals against Joe Torre for the Dodgers. Remember, he was a manager for the Dodgers for a little bit?
Yeah.
Back in the 2009 NLDS. So again, I mean, no edge there between Baker and Bruce Bochy. So this is going to be fun to watch, the Battle of Texas. I think whoever wins, is more than worthy of going to the World Series and representing the American League.
And it's a rivalry, man. I mean, this is something that has really kind of taken on its life of its own. The AL West has turned a little nasty in the last few years, between Seattle, Texas, and Houston all not liking each other. So, yeah, I'm very anxious to see the atmosphere Wednesday night and see how crazy it is.
Yeah, I was watching the game last night. I wasn't sure if it was nasty or not, but then when Post Malone told me how important it was on the pregame package, I was like, oh, okay, if Post Malone is saying it.
Hello, yeah.
Now it's got to be. Yes. Yeah, Kevin, I know you're going to be in Arlington and in Texas covering Game 3, 4, and 5 asterisk. Yep. So go ahead and plug away. And actually, first tell me who do you think is going to win this series? And did last night's victory for the Rangers change your mind at all?
It still didn't. I mean, as much as the Bruce Bochy effect is having, I still think the Astros find a way to pull this out. I think you look back to that last time that they went into Arlington, and I think they outscored them. I think it was like 43-6 or something like that in the 3 games. I mean, it was a butt kicking. So I do think that the Astros find a way to win this series. I do think that their experience in the postseason pays off. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. How about that?
It's going to be at KGH23 on Twitter. Let folks know where all your great written content is found, because you keep cranking it out, and it's top quality work.
Appreciate it, brother. I'm Fansided's national columnist, and luckily You'll be with Robert Murray, who's our MLB insider there in Arizona, while I'll be covering things for fansided.com/MLB in Arlington, 3, 4, and 5, like you said, with the asterisk, and looking forward to see what all this happens.
Man, it's exciting. I mean, it's postseason baseball. It's always riveting, always exciting. We're keeping it exciting, even when it comes to the Rockies. Over on Twitter at DNVR_Rockies at Patrick D. Lyons is where I can be found. Kevin, appreciate you, and appreciate Renee and Jesse for giving us plenty of momentum on today's show. But do you know what they say about podcast momentum?
You know, you may need to remind me. Let's see.
They say that kind of momentum is only good as your next show. Thankfully, we've got Susie Hunter tomorrow right here on the DNVR Sports Channel, live on YouTube.
We all silly like the mayor.